Ladies and gentlemen of YouTube, I am thrilled to report to you that the legendary tier Soviet destroyer Khabarovsk received a buff in the November 2022 update. It wasn't a buff that you'll find anywhere in the patch notes, at least you won't find it specified for the Khabarovsk. Rather, the buff that the Khabarovsk enjoys is the result of a global buff to a module, namely the gun range module in the fourth slot of the higher tier ships. Previously, that gun range module only gave you 5% extra range. It now gives you 10% extra range, and the Khabarovsk can slot it. As a result, my main battery gun range on the Khabarovsk is 16.1 kilometers, by far the longest range for any destroyer main guns in the game. It rivals even some cruisers at this tier, 16.1 kilometers. The way you achieve that range, I've spoken about it before. I'm using Anton Gurin as my commander, and in his fourth row of commander skills, he has a skill called Sidestep, which increases the main battery gun range. When it's fully maxed, it increases it by 10%. So Sidestep plus the main battery gun mod, that's 20%. And then one of the inspirations on Gurin is the Decepticon Rumble, who increases the main battery gun range by a further 5.4% at the rank I have him. So I've increased the Khabarovsk's gun range by 25.4%. And I think that's useful. You see, we started a fire on the Republique at like 14.7 kilometers. We started another one at 14.2 kilometers as he's kiting away from us. There is no other destroyer in the game that can do this. Of course, the Khabarovsk isn't really played like a destroyer, at least not with this kind of build. It's much more a miniaturized cruiser, and as a result, it really doesn't perform the role of destroyer well. And by role of destroyer, I'm talking about things like contesting cap circles. It can obviously still spot for the team because it's stealthier than anything that isn't a destroyer, but actually taking the capture circles can be a little tricky. You can see that the Charlie cap was being occupied by that enemy Shimakaze, who we've only just now noticed. We don't really have the ability to enter that cap. The Shimakaze outspots us by a lot, and he does have some support here in the form of this Conqueror. So what we want to do, since the Republique is retreating, is continue to lay down supporting fire with our teammates on this Conqueror, hopefully take him out, and then we can consider moving in toward the Alpha Cap and trying to flip it. Doesn't really matter, though, at this point. Our team has flipped Alpha, and we've got a friendly destroyer taking Bravo uncontested, so we're going to have both of the capture circles, which is going to set up the win conditions for this game. Whether those conditions pan out and result in a victory in our favor, well, that remains to be seen, and the fact that I'm bringing it up, I suppose you can probably guess what is about to happen. Although in the meantime, I think we're going to perform a useful role with our Khabarovsk. We're going to actually do something that is valuable for our team and doesn't involve taking capture circles. And we're going to end up with a lot of base XP at the end of the proceedings here for it. We take down the Conqueror as our first kill of the game, and now we feel a little bit more comfortable to move in toward where the Shimakaze is. It's only the Shimakaze and the Republique on this side of the map. As of right now, there is a cruiser moving in toward the Charlie Cap unspotted, but we think the Shimakaze is maybe somewhere behind this island. We're going to approach the island to hopefully block the Shima's line of sight. And the idea is that when we turn the corner from the island, hopefully we will be close enough to the Shima that we will spot him. That's when we get radared by the enemy cruiser. It's either a Des Moines or Worcester, can't really remember, but he's not going to actually end up shooting at us. He's just radared us, which is not something that the Khabarovsk has to worry about because it always wants to be spotted, and the cruiser is a Minotaur. Perhaps the cruiser is even an intoxicated Minotaur. He doesn't seem to have full control of his vehicle there. He rams it into an island and comes to a complete stop broadside to us. So we switch to the Khabarovsk's AP, which is probably not going to Citadel the Minotaur at this kind of range or even that kind of angle, but it will do chunky bits of armor-piercing damage to him. He's backed away from that island now. We've done 6k to him in the span of 2 salvos. He's going forward. I think that he's probably turned enough so that he'll get off the island. I adjust my aim, and what do you know? He rams right into the island again. But he's well on his way back to port. He can try to return fire to us, but the Minotaur's shells are so floaty that there's no way they're going to reliably hit the Khabarovsk, even at a short range of 13 kilometers. Meanwhile, we have absolutely no problem hitting the Minotaur in return, so you can kind of see how this thing functions as more of a cruiser than a destroyer. We nearly get the kill on the Minotaur as well, but one of our teammates picks him up. Things aren't looking too bad for our team, though. After the Minotaur has gone down, the enemy has lost 3 ships, we've only lost 2, and we have 2 capture circles to the enemy's 1, so we're far ahead of them on points, and we can continue to build on that points lead so long as none of our remaining teammates sink, and why should they? The enemy Shimakaze is over here. We don't know where the other 2 enemy destroyers are, but we know the Republic is over here, and we know another cruiser is over here. Republic, 2 cruisers maybe, actually. Yeah, no, only 1 cruiser. Republic, 1 cruiser, Minotaur, and Shima. That is half of the enemy team over on this side, and we want to keep their attention. The Republic is moving in, so is the Minotaur. Shimakaze is inside that smokescreen, and here is the enemy Jutland. So we have more than half the enemy team on this side of the map. There's 1 destroyer somewhere else. There's an enemy cruiser in the center of the map who's being pursued by 2 destroyers, which doesn't bode especially well. It looks like he's taken down the friendly cruiser. And we're absolutely pounding the Jutland with our high explosive. We've taken away most of his hit points. He continues to shoot at us before he gives up and smokes up. That's fine. We're going to continue to kite away. Shimakaze, meanwhile, is also shooting at us. I love it when enemy destroyers shoot at the Khabarovsk at long ranges. Somehow they think they're going to get anything out of it, but all they're accomplishing is making sure that I can spot them and reliably hit them while they miss me as I kite away. Shimakaze as well gives up, smokes up, and still we have 4 enemy ships whose attention we've captured. We're going to continue to kite away. That should leave our teammates to deal with the remaining enemy ships together when 4 of them are distracted by shooting at us. Again, I repeat, there are 4 enemy ships over here, occupied by us, chasing us, kiting away. This means that these enemy ships are not doing anything to retake the capture circles, sink my other teammates, or anything to win the game. And that's why I say this can kind of be useful. This isn't going to work all the time, but kiting away from the enemy ships like this, it captures their attention, and if they continue to shoot at you and continue to miss like this Minotaur is doing, they're simply wasting their time. It seems like the Jutland, the Shima, and the Republic might have given up, though, so we are going to try to turn back in. You can see that we're actually past our spawn, kind of close to the map border, and we don't want to get too far away. In fact, we want to think about heading toward the Bravo cap right now, because I suspect those 2 destroyers, once they realized it was futile to try to chase me and deal damage to me, I assume that one of them, maybe, at least has the idea to go flip the Bravo cap, and we want to be there to intercept them should they try. Luckily, our 2 destroyer teammates are miraculously still floating, and they're heading toward the Charlie cap right now, which is where things are going to start to go pear-shaped, because guess who else is heading toward the Charlie cap? It's the Republic, and at least one of those enemy DDs is very close to the Charlie cap as well. So these destroyers, I don't know why they're pushing into the Charlie cap so aggressively when they're right next to a battleship, but they don't have a lot of health. There, by the way, we're continuing to shoot at that Minotaur. We get the high caliber medal there. We got the Confederate medal a little bit early, and we've got a fire burning on the Minotaur, but we can see the 2 friendly destroyers on the map. One of them goes down to the Republic. That just leaves a Gearing left who's like 2 feet away from him, probably smoked up or hidden behind an island. Oh, never mind, it's not a Gearing, it's a Sumner, same thing. But the summoner has like 2 hit points left. If he gets looked at by that Ray Publique, he's gonna sink. So I'm furiously pinging him to get back, but no, it doesn't matter. He is going to die to the Ray Publique, and the Bravo Cap is starting to be flipped. So despite the fact that we tied up a huge portion of the enemy team for quite a long time over here on the Charlie Cap side of the map, just by kiting away from them and shooting like a maniac, our teammates have managed to suicide into the enemy team as they realized that they were wasting their time shooting at me. So, while I think I did provide a valuable service to my team in that sequence there, I can't stop the enemy destroyers from suiciding. I really wish they would have played a little bit more conservatively. Obviously, both of them had like no HP left, so they really shouldn't have charged in to the enemy team. There was no reason for them to die. We were winning. All we needed to do to maintain our lead was maintain control on both Alpha and Bravo, which wouldn't really have been a problem if those 2 destroyers were still alive. We didn't even have to sink anything. We just had to maintain control. So, unfortunately, we're not able to do that. Now we're down to just myself and 1 battleship left. The Jutland is over there. Hopefully, we'll be able to take him out with those torpedoes, but we can't focus on that for too long. The point situation is too dire. We need to get into this Bravo Cap as soon as we possibly can and retake it, but we can't sail in a straight line toward Bravo because we know the Minotaur is right behind that island, and we don't know where any of the other 2 enemy destroyers are. We know where the Jutland is, and we're waiting to see if our torpedoes make contact. They do. They take out the Jutland, but the other 2 destroyers, not sure where they're at. Meanwhile, the Ray Publique takes out our final remaining battleship, and that leaves us alone versus 2 destroyers and a Minotaur. Not something that the Khabarovsk can't handle, but now one of the destroyers is in Alpha, and here we'll see our terrible concealment sort of come back to bite us. Obviously, we're spotted by a destroyer somewhere. We can't see it. It can see us, though, and it's letting the Minotaur shoot at us. So we're going to mess with the throttle here, try to dodge these Minotaur shots, and at this point, I'm not sure what to do with only 2 minutes left in the match. I'm thinking, well, my only choice really is probably to go after these destroyers and try to sink them, because I'm never going to flip the cap. And that's when the Shimakaze appears and smokes up. He is not able to shoot at us, which is nice, but the Alpha Cap is still occupied by the other destroyer, which I think is Gurin, and there he is. We're going to get our guns on target. Unfortunately, we're facing him bow in. If we were facing him broadside, his HE might not have been able to penetrate us, and we might have been able to kill him, but he actually manages to ram us and win the game. So this was a little bit of a tragic defeat, but I don't think I can blame myself entirely for it with 2,300 base XP on a loss. This is a team game, and unfortunately, you do need your teammates to survive a lot of the time in order to win. But I hope you enjoyed this look at the Khabarovsk. If so, give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.